Hi and welcome to the Famalam podcast. We are the Robinson family. My name's Gareth.
I'm Lizzy. I'm Daisy.
I'm Lucy.
And I'm Toby.
A bit more enthusiasm, Luce.
Sorry, guys.
And we are doing this podcast to encourage people to think about how the Christian faith impacts family life. We're a family of 5, 6 including the dog. And we thought it would be a really good way to share some of our insights about parenting, about family life, but not just what Lizzy and I have learned as we've done this, but to actually have the kids involved as well. So they're going to be speaking into all the different topics that have come up as we've thought about how we might make the most of this time. Back in the summer, we were at the New Wine Festival and we hosted a panel in one of the breakouts at the Big Top talking about how to parent adolescents. It was in response to the Netflix adolescence series, which was shocking for lots and lots of people. And so we were trying to work out, well, what would a Christian response be to that? And so we pulled together a panel and came up with the idea of maybe doing a podcast where the kids get to speak as well. So here we are. We're going to introduce ourselves and then we're going to get into the most significant topic that was raised in that breakout, which was the question about screens. So before we get into that, my name's Gareth. I'm a vicar, church leader in central Manchester in Salford, along with my wife, Lizzy.
Yay! And I lead alongside Gareth. I also lead a charity called Project Pearl, which works with sex workers. And we're empty nesting. So the kids will introduce themselves and where they are. But just something that we wanted to say was we've never really done seminars or talked about parenting whilst the kids were young. We wanted to wait till they were older and also give them the choice. They can say whether they were given the choice to do this, but also just felt it was really important that we heard from their perspectives and not just ours, that it was their story and they were going to share it themselves. So it's not us sharing on their behalf. So you get it from them. So that's where we're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go next? Maybe the eldest, journalist Daisy.
Yeah, coming to you from East Acton. My name's Daisy, and I'm coming to you from my boyfriend's balcony because my house has no Wi-Fi because I just recently moved in and apparently his doesn't either. So hence the quality and the darkness. I work in politics in London and I live in Elephant and Castle.
Hooray!
Okay, great.
Lucy, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Luce or Juice or Lucy.
My gosh, you're not going to be able to say anything.
How long were you thinking about that in your head for? Guys, I'm the giggle
She's
of the
been
family.
thinking about that for weeks, Daisy. Her big moment. Loose, Juice or Lucy?
Guys, my make or break. Make or break. I think I broke. Anyways, I'm Luce. I'm currently a children's nurse student, final year, but aspiring artist. Check out my art page. Tag.
What is the
I am
art page?
currently.
Go on, tell us what the art page is.
I actually don't know what it is. I think it's _Lucy _
That's great.
but I actually don't really know.
Right, do you want me to tell you what it is while Toby's...
Yeah, Mum, you got. Oh, I'm not finished, Mum.
Keep going, Lucy. Go on.
Sorry, Lou.
I'm currently staying at Auntie Joy's and Uncle Clint's because I'm currently homeless. But I found a house and I'm moving on Thursday.
Let's
Hooray!
go!
Praise the Lord.
Lucy. Go on then. I can't read it. My eyes look so
_
bad.
Lucy Hope _art.
Yes. Mum's got new contact lenses, so can't see properly.
Good to know.
They're very focals. I've got to get used to it.
_ Lucy Hope _art on Instagram. Lucy Hope _art.
You probably
Get at it.
should know that, Lucy, if you want to.
I recommend that you
TikTok.
try to remember that
Yeah, I do too. Anyway, moving
You
on.
too.
I did remember it though. Did I not?
No,
eventually.
no, you didn't. You missed the underscore.
Toby, tell us about yourself.
I'm Toby, as the father has just said. I am 18 years of age and I've just been a bit jobless at the moment, to be honest. I'm about to go to uni on Saturday, so talking about screens, there's been a lot of screen time for me over the past few weeks, so not a lot of wisdom on that end from me. I'm studying a course called Sport and Exercise Medical Science at King's College London.
Toby, tell
from next week.
Tell the listeners what you've been doing today, though, when you're not on the screen. I mean, we can't quite believe it. What have you been doing?
Oh, many things, Mum.
Come on.
So yeah, thank you for that, Lucy.
You're welcome.
So I started the day off with a dentist appointment, which was pretty
Riveting.
impressive,
Okay,
actually.
we don't need to know the full day.
All
It was
right.
quite an early morning.
Okay. Are
Sorry.
we talking about that?
Sorry, no, you just asked me to do that
Okay.
anyway. And then I made a banana bread. I did the washing.
Tasty.
What else did I do?
Toby has learned how to sew. And so,
I also sewed a jumper as well.
yeah. And
Um,
without me prompting or saying maybe you should learn to sew, you just found the sewing machine and started doing some sewing.
Yeah,
And you learned it off
I was-
YouTube.
Yeah.
I found him
I
last
don't
week
know how to
fixing
sew.
his jeans. It was so impressive. But the other thing he's done, which I'm so proud
Mm.
of him, is starting to pack for university.
Yeah.
And Toby, just show maybe the camera your packing skills, because it's pretty impressive.
I'll get a photo while someone else
Yes.
speaks.
Okay.
I just
mean,
can't
let's
believe
go
that Toby's made a banana bread. I don't think he's
It-
ever baked for me ever in my life.
Toby, when did you learn to bake, mate?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
It's unreal banana bread as well.
It's very good.
He's
Here's
learned it
here's the
from his
packing,
mother.
everyone.
Packing.
Look at that packing. The
Wow.
jeans are rolled and then fitted.
Yeah, but I don't really get the point when you're going to unpack it all on Sunday anyway, it's Saturday. Like, who cares? Someone's going
It
to see
looks
the inside of
pretty,
the suitcase.
Toby.
It's not about it. I didn't take
It's just aesthetic purposes.
I did not take that photo. That was Mum sending
I
it to the
did,
group
Yeah, but
chat.
you're the one that showed it on the
So
chat.
For
impressed.
two, because I just found it and it's an unbelievable photo. For two, I have respect for my clothes. So
And he's wondering if it's going to impress the girls. Or
Really?
maybe not.
I think
Yeah,
Mum
maybe
just
not.
came up with that.
I did come up with that.
I don't.
Mum's
No.
got Toby to list all these things so that he can almost like propose himself out for the girls. So if you're 18 and watching, comment but down below. We'll do a dating one in a few weeks.
Guys, let's just remember that Toby's.
Maybe you can feature in the podcast next.
Anyway, should we move on?
Well, it's interesting that we've already talked about screens lots of times. Toby's shown the screen to the camera with his photo on. Screens are dominating our lives. They're part of everyday life now. And so we thought it'd be good to have a conversation about that.
Yeah. So a company called Survation suggested some findings on a BBC News article that said more than a third, 38% of teenagers said they spent 5 or more hours on their phones on an average day. 39% would consider taking tech and screens out of their bedroom to reduce time spent on their devices. Other ways to minimize the time on their devices include using inbuilt settings such as screen time caps, 59%, or scheduling regular screen time breaks, 66%. And 25% say their parents set clear limits on how much time they spend on tech, and 47% of parents say they sometimes set limits. However, more than a quarter say their parents don't set any limits on their screen time. So that's a survey asking kids themselves.
And Daisy, it's really interesting. In the article, it talks about, I can't remember exactly, but Henry. What does he say? There's some quotes in there that he talks about how much time he's in his bedroom or something.
Well, he talks about having, like, sometimes forgetting to eat and drink water because he's so, like, engrossed on his screen, on gaming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so my question to you guys is, did you ever find that, have that, or friends, or what are your thoughts on that article? Do you think that's true of when you were at school? Is it true now? What are your...
I'll go first. I think personally, obviously you guys set very clear boundaries with our phone. We're not allowed to take them into our rooms and stuff. But when talking to friends, that was very much something that they did do. And the comparison was insane. Like, I remember used to chatting to my friends and be like, what's your screen time? Mine's so bad today. Mine's like 2 hours. And then they'd be like, bruh. They're like, mine's 6. And I'd be like,
What?
"Hey." And I think a lot of them, like, especially on the age where you've not started GCSEs yet, where you like don't really have revision to do, like after school, like if you're not doing clubs, there's not really, I don't know, I feel like because of social media, it's kind of taken over the fact of like hobbies. And like a lot of children, like especially working on the wards in the hospital, seeing the kids, is that a lot of them like don't really have hobbies anymore. Like you'll ask them, what do you do outside school? And they're like, oh, I game or I do these things. And a lot of them just turn to social media as just something to do. And so that's taken away the fact that hobbies aren't really a thing. I mean, that's kind of extreme, but it is scary. I think it was bad when we were younger, but I think it's definitely got worse from what I've seen on the wards. I don't know if Toby, you've got an opinion.
Toby, I remember you saying a lot of your friends had them in their room. They'd be talking at 4 a.m, or they'd be gaming. Is that right? making
Yeah,
that
yeah.
up?
Well, like, no, I think it was actually more of a norm to have your phone in your room rather than the opposite. So, like Lisa was saying with screen time, but if I was to my mates, I'm not actually allowed my phone in my room. Well, this is like GCSE upwards. A lot of them would be like, "What the heck? You don't have your phone in your room." They would stay up until like 2 a.m. on their phones, just kind of lost in reels and stuff. But then after saying that, they would be, I actually think that's so good. They would kind of realize that it would be so much better for them. But at that age, you don't have the self-control to do it yourself in a way.
Mhm.
So having you guys just tell us that we're not allowed our phones in our rooms, obviously that changed a lot.
But I think to add, sorry, Tobes, were you finished?
Yeah.
I think to add, like, I remember, like, it wasn't always positive. Obviously, like, this time, so I was, like, super grateful for it. There's also times where I remember, like, especially if, like, we can go on topic of, like, boys and stuff. And when you're in high school, like, everyone would talk about how they'd, like, be on FaceTime till late chatting. And I remember, like, being really sad because, like, oh, I never got to do that because, like, I'm not allowed my phone in my room. Obviously, like, I'm actually really grateful for that now because actually it saved me from a lot of, like, situations. But I think that actually, like, obviously it's by saying that to your kids, they're not always going to understand. I think it's just like a sit down conversation that's needed to be had. Like, I hope you know this is for your own good as well. Like, I hope you can see this too.
Yeah. And what I was saying about some of the people seeing the positives of not being allowed your phone in the room, that was when I was in college and
Yeah.
stuff. Well, until I was 18 and then I chose to have my phone in my room.
And interestingly, talking to you guys, like, I know that we were really strict. We always used to say, just say your parents are really strict and blame it on us. So you would say, well, it's my parents, they're really strict. But I think something that we've reflected and we've learned, and you guys had to show us, and we shared this at the seminar at New Wine. One example was when you girls had to sit me down and say, look, we know that you've got the rule about Snapchat until you're 16 and Fortnite, because I hated Fortnite and I didn't want Toby to play it until he was older. It had guns and all of that. During COVID, poor Toby, he wasn't able to chat to his friends, and it took Lucy and Daisy to sit me down and say, Toby can't chat to his friends because he's not playing on Fortnite and this is just too much. And I think I wish that I'd listened to Toby more and I hadn't put that rule in place, as strict as it was, and that I'd found that earlier, because that was, I think, at the end of COVID, poor Toby. But that was learning. This is what I was saying, is that, we can come with all our ideas of, this is what I'm going to raise my children, this is how I'm going to do it, this is what I'm going to do with screens, and I'm going to do this and this, and I'm right on this. And something that I've learnt the hard way, and also maybe a little late, was to be more and I'd call it be more bamboo. So be more flexible. And something that Gareth and me would say all the time, and you guys can be really honest, and that's what we want these guys on here, is that sometimes we didn't listen to the kids about this. And therefore, they missed out, like Toby missed out on having some banter and have some conversations and build on relationships, because most of his friends were on Fortnite. And because I was really stuck and strict on this kind of, we're not going to have Fortnite. I think that did affect your time during COVID. Yeah, Daisy, what do you want to add?
But I would say one thing that you guys did do right. Bear in mind it took a while, but you did come around to listening to us when we said, like, actually, this is really important for Toby. And because me and Lucy were older, it might have been more influential than if Toby had said it himself. But I think you guys were flexible enough to see it, and that's something that's important as well.
Well, I think Toby had said it quite a lot, hadn't he? He was like, look, this is where my friends are. And so if I remember right, Toby, you were joining in the chat on Discord, but they were playing and you weren't. Is that right?
I mean, I've probably blocked out my memory, to be honest, because it's so much trauma.
You've had prayer ministry, you've cried.
No, I think I do remember hopping on with the boys, but just not being on Fortnite. But I mean, I think what Mum was saying about bamboo is like sometimes compromise isn't right, but in some situations, because COVID was so different. Mum's thing about guns, like, I respect that a lot, is that she hates guns. But then in COVID, the only way I was able to be on with my mates or like carry on friendships was kind of online. So in some aspects of like life, compromises sometimes, I guess, the best way to go down.
So I wonder, we were quite. So I remember we tried to stick to like film ratings. I remember Daisy being desperate to watch the Harry Potters, but they were, after the first two, they were all 12s and you weren't 12. And so we didn't let you watch it until that time. Then we were really careful about what do you think, Days, that we got right and what did we get wrong in terms of screen time?
Interesting. I think I have a different perspective as well, because it sounds like I'm really old and I'm not that old, promise. But Lucy and Toby, like when they were, by the age they were in year 7, everyone had Snapchat and everyone had all these things and Instagram and Facebook. Whereas I remember having the iPhone 3G passed on from Dad when I went into high school. And I was one of the cool kids because I had such an upgraded phone. And
You're welcome.
I remember Flappy Fish, that was sick.
Yes, boy.
That was our social media, that was our screen time, and it wasn't that interesting. I remember like
Wasn't it Penguin or something? Wasn't
you didn't let us have that. There was this thing called
Yeah.
Club Penguin.
Yeah,
And
that was so
like on
sad.
your computer.
Or Movie
and,
Star
like,
Planet.
Movie Star Planet.
I wanted that so bad.
It's because Mum thought that we would. Mum was so obsessed with the fact that if anything was online, then
Can't do
we
it.
were
And
bound
Moshi
to be
Monsters,
groomed.
guys. Moshi Monsters.
Can I just say, and I totally agree with you guys that you missed out big time, but I was so paranoid about this online thing and screens and you guys being affected and being groomed. And because of my work, which is with sex workers and really vulnerable, but I was seeing the worst. And in meetings with the police and grooming and what was happening, in schools. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to put all these rules in so the children don't get affected. So I think I went, and I totally agree, so the other way. But now I feel really bad because I talk to friends and they say, oh, I remember when our kids were on Pingu or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh,
Club Penguin.
Club Penguin. That's it, Pingu.
We were allowed to watch Pingu.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
big
wow.
Thankfully,
Yeah,
that's
you
one
were
thing you
allowed.
could do.
Yes, you were allowed. But
No,
anyway,
no,
what?
Pingu was too. That was too much.
Too far.
Yeah,
too far.
yeah.
There was something about
But-
delayed gratification as well.
Yeah, delayed
It's true.
gratification.
Go on.
But
Talk
Of
about
like
that, Days.
yeah.
watching Harry Potter, guys. I'm cool like that. I watched Harry Potter, loved it, read all the books like 17 times. Not quite, that's not factual. But like the dad and mum were like, you cannot watch any of them that are above, if you're not 12, you're not allowed to watch any that are above the 12 rating. So we watched like Harry Potter 1, 2 and 3, I think most weeks. Like they were on like a rotation and I loved it and it was so good. But then when I did finally turn 12, Dad watched all of them with me and I was quite grateful that I hadn't watched them beforehand because they were pretty gory and
Scary.
quite scary and quite dark. Like the books weren't anywhere like that. Go on, Toe looks like you want to say.
And as well, if you're older, you get to actually appreciate the goodness of Harry Potter.
I remember going to play Sims at Lucy's friend's house online, and that was so fun. We made like massive houses, and it was sick, and all this. But then I actually think that if I had it on my own laptop, I wasn't allowed it. But I'm very grateful for it because I would have I enjoyed reading and I enjoyed doing all those things and like playing with my friends, and like the small like bursts of it that I had. It was really fun at friends' houses, but I wasn't jealous. Well, I was actually quite jealous, but now I'm not jealous that I didn't have
Yeah.
that.
I think what's funny, Daisy, you just reminded me of a story of when, so I'm sure everyone knows what Simpsons are. Mum and Dad didn't let us watch Simpsons because they know it's kind of rude. And I remember going round to my friend's Pippa's house and she had Simpson movie and I was like, wow, not allowed to watch that. And I was like, if Pippa puts it on, then it's not my fault. And me and Pippa watched the Simpson movie and it was great, but I was also like, I don't understand the hype. And then I kept it from Mum and Dad for years. And
well, I've only just
do you
found that
remember-
out.
do you remember-
Until this very
And
moment.
so
no
now,
way! I honestly thought I told you about this, but yeah,
To be fair, I think I might remember you like gassing that up to me
I did gas
once.
it up. I was like, guys, I've watched Simpsons. Like, wow. All I remember is about donuts. Like, I don't even know why. Like, it's just, yeah.
I don't know if Mum and Dad did this with Lucy and Daisy. It's probably because I was the youngest and everyone was waiting to watch like 12s and stuff on
Oh,
movie
they
night.
chilled out.
But they did chill out
They
a bit.
did.
But I remember, because I remember with 15s it was like a no-go until my 15th birthday. But I remember one of the Star Wars films, it was like a couple weeks before my birthday, one of the new Star Wars films was coming out and it was 12 plus. And I remember Dad being like, you know what, you can go and watch it. And so he took me out and I think we all went to go see it for my birthday or something, and it was a couple weeks before my birthday. I thought that was the most amazing thing, that I was watching a 12 before I was 12. So like if you do that, then you can get a lot of respect as well.
So the delayed gratification, what you both said, Toby, Daisy, was really quite helpful in terms of the restrictions that we put on you.
Yeah.
Had some positive, even though it was hard socially, you valued the delayed gratification somewhat. Let's
Yeah,
go to the
yeah.
reporter in the dark,
Yeah.
Daisy.
Although, I would say watching Frozen for Toby's 9th birthday was a bit of a hit on his cool
Yeah.
points.
So I was going to ask you about that, Days, right? Because
Dear.
it's great. We've got this rule that you can't watch a particular film until you get to that age. It meant that when Toby was like 10, Daisy, you were like 15, and we were still watching PGs, and we wouldn't watch 12s until he turned 12.
No,
How was
because
that?
you guys did chill out. I think by the time Toby was 10, we were watching 12s. Or like when
Really?
Toby was like 13, we were watching 15s, because I distinctly
No,
remember
I think it was.
Lucy being so angry.
I
Lucy
I
was
remember-
so
This
angry.
is the thing. I get really upset about the unfairness of how much they changed their parenting for me and then Toby. Especially, this isn't today's topic, but especially with parties. And I will
All
bring
right,
this back
okay,
up next time.
Well, that's
Well,
because
let's
we
talk
all know
about
that we can't
parties.
trust you.
Yeah, well, we can tell that story another time, but we're going to keep on screen.
See, there's even
right
a
now.
story.
There is a story, but Toby, you
You'll
have a
have to
story
listen to the
too.
next
so
episode.
Toby has a
Trailer.
story. We all have stories.
What
I
story?
have
Oh,
stories.
yeah.
Anyway, going back to the phone and the screens, what advice would you give to parents or kids now about setting boundaries and
That's a
rules
good
and
question.
limits?
I think what's interesting, I mean, this isn't really answering your question, but what's interesting is that on Instagram, TikTok, or memes or whatever, the whole Gen Z generation have basically said that they don't want their kids to be on screens, and all of us are never going to let our kids be iPad kids. Everyone's like, if everyone's strict, then it doesn't matter. And so it's interesting because I think we've all been able to reflect. Actually, it wasn't helpful for us. It didn't do us that much good. And actually, the way we want to parent our kids is without screens. So I think as people who've grown up with screens, take that advice on, and the fact that actually we've been through it and we all agree that we don't want our kids to go through it. Although being strict will cause a bit of conflict a little bit in the current present time. Actually, from all three of us, I can say on my behalf at least that I'm actually very grateful for it, Dad.
I have a question. I'm interested to know why. Why do you think Gen Zs don't want kids to do that? Because as a parent, I look at some kids sitting on their iPads. You're in a restaurant and you look at families over there, and families having a nice time, but the kids are on iPads. We banned screens from restaurants. So why do you think Gen Z don't want? Because there's a lot of good in screens. Why not?
I mean, the others can help me out too, but it's interesting. Obviously, in terms of social media and stuff, there are benefits, and our generation has used it as a tool for sure, especially in different work settings. But I think there is that sense of people take pictures of people in restaurants, and their kids are just on screens, and that's really sad. And actually, I think there's that social awareness of being, oh, this is actually a really sad situation that families aren't being able to connect, and maybe they've experienced that themselves. And actually, yeah, we just watch TV when we eat dinner, and we don't actually chat. We don't actually have community with our family. And I think they just want that community and that connection with their family when they're older. I mean, that's at least what I feel. And as I've had conversations with others, that's what my friends have been saying. But obviously, I can't speak for everyone.
It's really interesting. What do you, Toby or Daisy?
For me, it's the amount of productivity that's lost from from just scrolling, pure scrolling and stuff. I mean, this week has not been the most productive week in the world for me.
Apart from today. Today sounded productive.
Apart from today, good
Today
point.
was
Making,
productive.
sewing,
I know.
packing.
I mean,
Amazing.
But I think
washing.
one of the problems with, I can't remember where I heard this, but one of the problems with screens, in the fact of social media and just scrolling, is that it kind of eliminates any chance of boredom or kids to come across boredom, and boredom is where creativity is found most. So when a kid becomes bored, in our time, it's just go onto your phone, end up on reels for 4 hours, and you're absolutely fine. But back in the day, it would just be get bored and then go and whittle a few sticks or something. You've not got a screen to turn to. So I think the creativity part of it, and just
I was just going to say, it's interesting with people my age, almost mid-20s, which is so scary. I'm 23. And the people who are the people who I work alongside are normally my age and my peers. We kind of, it's a prideful thing if you spend less time on your phone or less time on social media. and
Really?
everyone's trying to do like their wellness routines, like going to the gym or like going for a run and then going to work and then seeing a friend afterwards, or like going for a coffee before work. That's seen as, wow, you're living such an amazing life. And actually, I think maybe it's just because I'm in a London bubble and quite a busy like work atmosphere anyway, but people are quite keen to like have a interesting, fast-paced life. They're almost rejecting the things that screen has given them growing up. I don't have Wi-Fi in my house, but I've downloaded loads of movies on my phone because I thought I'm going to get really bored. And then I've literally not watched one of them, and I've been there for 2.5 weeks or something. So I think it just shows that like when you don't have access to it, and I even turned my mobile data off for Instagram, and like I've actually really enjoyed not scrolling in the evening or when I get home. So I think we're realizing that actually it doesn't fulfill you, and it doesn't create happiness, and it doesn't give you contentness in the way that you were searching for when you were a teenager. Like you were always looking online at the prettier model or the prettier girl in your classroom. But once you're kind of a bit older and you maybe I'm privileged because I'm happy with my life and like the people I'm around, but it means that you're not as bothered about other people's lives, so you're just spending less time looking at their lives. And so you don't want that for your kids.
Oh, yeah, I think it was on Woman's Hour Radio 4, I can't remember, but was talking about how kids have forgotten how to talk on the phone, they've forgotten how to have a conversation, so interview technique, or just going into going to church for the first time, or going into a cafe, or whatever it is. That there's social anxiety,
Yeah.
just having a lot of anxiety about interaction with other people. It's really interesting. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's because of screens, or?
Well, we're called a snowflake generation, aren't we? My generation, and like the anxious generation. Like that's because of screens, 100%. I think obviously the world around us makes us more anxious, but I think the fact that you have news alerts on your phone and then everything on Instagram and then TikTok is also telling you about what's going on in the world and you can't escape it. And then the way that you escape before you go to bed is scrolling on your phone. You can't escape it. When you get into the addictive pattern, you're always going to be in it. And so, yeah, I think that's probably why there's definitely social anxiety because of social media and because of screens. What would you guys say?
I think it's interesting, like, to bring, like, kind of God into this mix. Like, speaking with my Christian friends, it's a very different narrative. Not always, but especially with the comparison thing with social media. Like, once your identity is set in Christ, you know who you are. You know that, like, your identity is in Him and not in anything else. We know that comparison is the thief of joy. And being able to have that and knowledge and, like biblical foundation, is like, scrolling on Instagram actually isn't as bad. Me and Daisy were chatting a few weeks ago, and like there was like specific like thing, and we both we compared ourselves to. And I'm not saying that it's completely going to go away. It is definitely a temptation to do that and to compare, but I think that's what the joy is about having Jesus, and especially with the social anxiety. We have so many friends who used to have it, and Jesus healed them like that. And the name Snowflake Generation and like the whole anxiety thing, yeah, that might be the name, but that's not what it has to continue to be. We're also the generation that's meeting God the most, and praise God, maybe we'll be the generation who's been healed the most and less anxious, and have all these testimonies about how much more life has flourished because they've been able to get over this anxiety through God. So I don't think, although it is, yes, definitely a screen thing, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
That reminds me of that proverb, which I'm sure through the course of this podcast we will talk about a lot, which says, train a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. So question, we tried to model what we were asking of you as well. So we weren't telling you guys to do something with your screen that we weren't trying to do as well. I remember there was a season where you were answering texts in the middle of the night, and well, actually, let's not let the screen define our bedroom. This is where we're meant to sleep and rest. And so we made the decision we're going to put our phones away. And then by the time you guys were having phones, our principle was when you started high school, we'll get you a phone. So when we got you that, you were putting it down in the kitchen to charge before you went to bed, because we were too. Do you think what we did helped, hindered? Like, how much did we model well, and how much did we mess you up?
I think for me, the fact that you did it in the first place, like, it just kind of created it as a norm. The fact that you're doing it as well. So you saying to us, if you're going to have a phone, you've got to put it downstairs. First of all, like, it's our phone, as in you and mum. And so if you want it, then it has to be downstairs. But then the fact that you actually do it, put it downstairs yourself, that's obviously going to make it a lot easier for a kid whose parents doing the same thing. So I need to.
Yeah, it wasn't really like something that anyone questioned. Also, you helped us because I remember distinctly, and I still get compliments about it. You got me this really cool alarm clock. And because I got up at a different time to Lucy and Toby, and I was a bit older, so it meant I was a bit more independent and like got the bus on my own. You like made it easier for me to not have a phone. Now that I'm at not at uni, gosh, that's so sad. Now that I live in my own house and like I have my phone in my room because I don't like the idea of not having it, which maybe is a problem in itself. But I don't use the alarm. So the first thing I look at is my phone, but I'm so grateful growing up that I didn't, because it meant that actually I would read my Bible instead, or I'd have time before I started looking at my screen. So I was very grateful in that regard.
That's interesting.
And something that I want to reflect now. So it is true, the proverb of like the things you teach your children, even though I'm not doing the practice of it, I actually wish I did it more and want to
But
get better at it.
sometimes, I mean, like now I have the phone. So for the listeners, we have a dock in our kitchen and everyone docks their phone before they go to bed.
Not anymore.
But interestingly, not anymore, because like Daisy, is interesting, isn't it, how things change? And it is really hard. I'm with you, Daisy. So, you know, I have my phone in my bedroom because we haven't got a landline, and I want you guys to be able to ring me and for safety. What's really hard, and I try and pick up, I've got a paper Bible now, so I can literally pick up my Bible first. But the temptation to go on my phone is extraordinary first. But when you've got it in the dock, you don't have that temptation. So it is really, really helpful. Lucy, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right in the terms of it might change over time. I think obviously I'm living at Jordan Clint's at the moment, but when I was living in my old house before and when I move next week, I think as a single woman living in a house in the middle of London, and not the safest area, and also with different health stuff, actually having my phone next to me is like
Good thing.
Yeah, and
And
it's nice
essential.
knowing that like, oh, anything happens, like obviously like I don't really know what like phoning my mum and dad's gonna do, but like I have the phone here, and like if it's downstairs, like I don't know, it's a different thing when you're living at home because you're like almost protected by your parents. Like you're not thinking about those safety aspects, and probably when we have our own family, my own or whatever later in life, like that won't be an issue again. But when you're living by yourself, it's quite a nice thing to have. But you're right.
I'd want you guys to have it.
Yeah.
And I want you to have it, and that's why I want the phone near. But it's really hard, isn't it, then to have those boundaries?
Yeah.
So, you know, how do you have those boundaries? How do you put those screen times on? Because obviously, like Gareth just explained, we had screen times, we had, you know, age stuff on. You weren't allowed to do Snapchat, and we've
We
talked about
tried to do a
bamboo.
screen-free Friday. Do you remember
Yeah.
those days? Man, they
Sabbath.
were unsuccessful.
I think Gareth was the only one who did them.
What I was going to say about like not having the screens and when we were young, like in our rooms when we were younger, I think the fact that it was already teaching us that the first thing, or like not to just be scrolling before bed and then just it's downstairs, it's away. So when you don't have that self-control when you're younger to be like, no, I actually need to go to bed, you don't have to worry about that. It's already downstairs. But then second of all, when you grow up, like now for me, waking up in the morning, I still use an alarm clock, and I just hardly ever do pick up my phone first. Like it's always the Bible. Well, turn off my alarm clock and then read the Bible. So I think even just learning that from being younger, I don't know.
I think
without phones in your room.
it's the whole thing of like routine. Is like once you set a routine,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's interesting talking to friends because for me personally, like I can't lie in bed for ages on my phone or on a screen because it like physically makes me feel sick because I'm not used to it. And my friends are like, oh, I never get that, but it's because their bodies become so used to it. Whereas because it was never like a thing that we had implemented, it's just a thing that makes it like our body's telling us that we're having too much. I don't know if everyone else has got the same thing.
Well, it's not healthy for you because your brain switches your brain on, doesn't it? But this article, Daisy, there was one fact about how many kids are on their phone and how they're in their bedroom most of the time. So that was something else that we had. We always had doors open, and I was very strict on that because of the online stuff and the grooming and talking about. So we were asked, what question was it that we were asked that was the most popular on the
In the
whatever it's
breakout.
called on the breakout Slido?
Do you or did you check your teenager's mobile phone regularly? And if so, how did you do it without them seeing it as an invasion of privacy?
So what I answered to this was that we used to say it is our phone till you're 18, and we used to say to you, we'll check it. Now, I think we had such a big trust account, I never felt the need to, so I never did. But there were 1 or 2 times that we asked to check it, but we do it with you. So Lucy, you had a number of situations, but there was one particular one where on Snapchat,
It's always me.
Snapchat, you weren't sure what was happening on the conversation. It was actually starting to cause quite a lot of anxiety, and you knew in your gut it was bullying. So you showed it to me, and I was like, even though that you hadn't responded, even you being part of the chat, that was bullying or something extreme in school, you'd still be disciplined for it because you were on the chat and you saw it. And I think you and I had a lot of conversations, and I don't think we agreed straight away, but eventually you were like, yeah, I'll come off. And I think you felt better about it, but it did cause you a lot of anxiety, and I think it caused you a bit of trouble at school.
Do you want me to tell you how I felt?
Go on.
So I think the thing is there was two main situations that I remember. You're right, there was one where like people were talking about a specific person, and I was on the chat, and like obviously I wasn't getting involved in what they were saying, but I was very much like, this isn't nice. That was a horrible situation to be in, and actually it was really helpful to talk to mum and dad about it.
But you weren't impressed when I brought it up. You were very
No,
cross.
and I think it was that whole thing of like, I think I just felt like it was kind of controlling. Obviously my parents are like, fair game to you. I think I also was like, I think I was more scared of what was going to happen once you'd found out. And I was like, oh, what's going to happen to me when I actually say something or pull this up? And the same thing happened when like a video that wasn't great was going around. I remember seeing this video, and everyone was talking about it in high school. And I just remember being like, I don't want to be a part of this, and actually having to pull up Snapchat and be like, Mum, like, am I being crazy? This is bad. So there
And I was
were
like,
times.
get off. And actually, I think we thought we might have to. I don't know if we did report it, but it was a.
I don't remember what we did, but I think even just talking to you about it, although I was anxious about it, actually talking to you made it feel better, even though I probably wouldn't have admitted that at the time.
Yeah. So how can screens be used for good, do you think? We've talked a little bit earlier about creativity. Is there good in screens, or should we just get rid of them altogether, as if that's ever going to happen?
I think there's definitely good in like communication with mates and stuff. It's the way that the world's going, so you can't just like Fortnite we were talking about for an example. I mean, it was a bit different because it was lockdown, but if that's the one place that a kid's mates is all at, if they have a love for gaming, for example, and that's where all of their mates are gamers. They're not footballers. They're not sporty. They just want to game. Stripping that away from someone is going to be detrimental. Like, they're not going to rate you for that. Like, if someone took away running from me, then that would be annoying. The thing that we were talking about, compromise, is that if a hobby of someone's, or if there's a kid who's all of his mates or her mates are online constantly, and they also want to be online with them, like for gaming, and if it's a game that you don't agree with, it's like finding a way to get around it. So saying that you can be on the game, but just be on there for 2 hours or an hour and a half a day.
So trying to set that boundary.
Yeah. So that you still have like, I was about to say you're in control, but that sounds wrong. But you know what I mean. But then hopefully the kid can see that you're actually trying to work with them rather than cause them a load of...
And I'm sure we'll talk about setting boundaries and things in other podcasts as well. Daisy, your job has been basically to create content for people to look at on screens, right? So tell us a bit about how screens can be used for good.
Facts. Daisy's causing the problem.
No.
So can they be used for good? I work for a politician and do a lot of her comms. And I think, well, firstly, should politicians have comms in the first place? That could be a whole nother podcast. I don't know. Obviously, it can be used for good. Like, most people get their news now from social media rather than broadcast or newspapers. So it definitely needs to be used. And if you're not using it in the correct way than the people who are using it in the wrong way will take all the space up. So there's something about being a positive voice in those spaces, and that's essential for Christian faith, but also for just sensible people to be online. But it's totally, I think it could be used for good, like more specifically for like young people. There's something called The Way UK, which uses social media as an evangelism tool, and they have reached hundreds of thousands of young people through their videos. It's amazing. And Lucy, with her art, like you're able to reach a whole new audience and pray for people and bless people on that. So I think it's got negatives, and I think the negatives actually come in when it's young children on screens, and they're on screens rather than going outside, or they're on screens rather than learning to read. But when it's such an integral part of life, and even my work, I literally am on a screen 9 till 5, and then on a screen afterwards for things like this. It's essential, but you can use it for good. So I think it gets easier and better as you get older, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to use it for good right now, aren't we? That's a really good way of putting it. Lise, any thoughts? Because you got a friend who's actively trying to help people who are in the gaming industry, gamers, find Jesus.
Yeah. So one of my really good mates, Jonathan, is just set up this gaming ministry called Emmaus Gaming, which you can find on Instagram. And it's just an incredible space where he is evangelizing in those spaces. Because I'm sure you know what the chats are like. Sometimes it can be really, these kids are spending hours and hours on these games. And so actually having someone who's in the middle of all of that is incredible, who's actually shining light of Jesus and bringing truth. And then also creating a safe space for people to be able to chat like that. So he's doing some amazing stuff. So definitely use some of his resources would be really cool.
Yeah. But social media, there are so many positives. Like, it opens loads of opportunities, connections. For me, I do like it. I love Instagram. It keeps me in touch with friends in America when we lived out there, and I love seeing them and being on holiday. And the negative is, and I have my own private account. Mine's not public. I think all of you, are you private on yours?
It depends which chat. I am on my like personal, but obviously for all my art stuff is.
What about you, Daisy? Are you private? Yeah. Toby?
Yeah, I'm private.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So I think when you were, and Gareth's public, I think if you're public, you have to be more thoughtful when you're an adult of what you're putting on.
That's why I don't post very much.
No, absolutely. But when you were younger, obviously you're adults now, and it's up to you what you do. But we said it had to be private. But I think it can be negative still, even if you're private. It can be really positive, but also Instagram, like you were saying, you can compare. You can think your life's not as good as someone else's. So it is important to be thoughtful. Everyone knows Instagram is your good bits, isn't it? All of that. But there are other things, like I'm old, so I love Vinted and I love Pinterest, and there's all these other things that are incredible resources. When you want to find, okay, guys, we've got a confession. You guys, empty nesting. We are thinking, and we're going to call it a retro van, because it's not a caravan.
Lauren's Karen van.
It's not a caravan.
Karen van.
We retro van shopping on Saturday together.
Karen van.
But as an example, the screen was amazing. The internet was amazing because it gave us all these different opportunities, and we did our research, and we were very sad for hours and hours.
Wait, they sell caravans on Vinted.
No.
Okay, sorry. I heard that wrong.
But actually, you can buy things for your retro Ariba. That's what we're going to call it. It's called an Ariba, isn't it?
Okay, let's move on.
Anyway, moving on.
Daisy, what was your high and low?
My high was having dinner with my friend Ellie yesterday at a pizza place. It was very yummy. And my low is being on a balcony because I have no Wi-Fi.
Who did you choose?
Lucy.
My high of the week was overmission. Top tier. Low of the week was feeling in pain. I choose Dad.
My high of the week was caravan shopping.
Oh.
No. Retro van shopping.
Don't even get one, please.
My low was it's Toby's last week here.
No.
And I choose my boy Toby.
Cheers, G-Rob. My high was I went to a Stewards Trust camp, which was pretty unreal, to be fair. It was just a lot of fun. Saw some good mates. And then my low was probably I haven't actually been feeling too well. I know, poor me. I choose Mum.
My high of the week, I'm sorry to say, folks, was definitely
Caravan.
looking for an Ariba retro van with your father. We had so much fun, didn't we?
We did, actually.
We did. My low is empty nesting, and I can't even talk about it. So I'm going to stop there.
Thank you for joining us for the Famalam podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, we would love for you to subscribe. We would love for you to share it with your friends. We would love you to like. We'd love you to do all the things that you're meant to do on your favorite podcast app or YouTube, and we will be back. If you'd like to follow us online, then you can follow us
to go
on Instagram at Famalampod or on the website famalampod.com, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye everybody.
Bye.